So we're going to focus on CNN here. The National Defense Authorization Act is something that has been considered for weeks and, in fact, months at this point. It has been debated. The president threatened to veto, and then he decided not to veto it. Senator Levin said he introduced some of the provisions that wound up being the most noxious, including the possible detention of U.S. citizens. We have covered it many times on this show. Yet we were surprised to find out that the establishment media is not covering it very much at all. In fact, in this entire process, as they considered the law, they debated the law, the president issued a veto threat, and then he did not veto it. He signed it into legislation. Throughout all of that, the so-called most trusted name in news, CNN, covered this story 0 times in prime time. Not one story in prime time. Overall, they do 24 hours of news. In those months, they've mentioned it just 5 times. In 3 of the instances, it was in under 30-second mentions. Oh, by the way, the National Defense Authorization Act might take away your rights. Okay, let's move on. And in fact, they weren't even clear on that. Now, to be fair, there was one excellent interview that Natalie Ellen did with Jonathan Turley, who's a constitutional law professor that cares deeply about this. Credit where credit is due. That was nicely done. The other interview was with a law professor who seemed to be in favor of the bill. I don't know how they found a law professor in favor of this bill in the country, but leave it to CNN to give you that kind of nonsense balance. Well, almost all the civil libertarians believe that it's an atrocious bill, including the ACLU, Amnesty International, etc. But we found one guy that seems to agree with it. That's CNN's ballast for you. The other 3 times, they barely mentioned it. In fact, one of the times they mentioned it, they got it totally wrong. Watch what Don Lemon says here.
The legislation includes a controversial national security waiver that allows the president to transfer a detainee from a military prison like Guantanamo Bay to civilian custody if he chooses.
That is not true. The opposite is true. The president cannot transfer detainees from Guantanamo Bay into the United States. Way to be the most trusted name in news. But I'm less bothered that they happen to get that story wrong. I guess they're so indifferent to the story that they didn't even bother getting that right. They're like, oh, who cares? Our civil liberties are being taken away. Just mention it in passing in like 15 seconds or so. I'm bothered that they don't cover it overall. Please stop with the weebles and do real news.